Welcome to the Real Chat Podcast,
where we talk business, lifestyle, and mindset.
For the modern entrepreneur.
I'm Baxter Colburn.
I'm Allyson Elise.
I'm Mandi Wilkie. Let's chat. Yeah.
And we're back.
We're back.
Welcome.
We have no
new
plan.
Room.
New room.
New
setup.
same location, new setup.
No
Yes.
real plan.
Me and dirty hair because
New
nobody can see
chairs.
us. New chairs.
New comfy chair.
Mandy got a puppy.
You got a puppy.
By the time this airs, my daughter doesn't know yet.
Well, it's 2 weeks. Will she know in 2 weeks?
Yes, she comes home from college on Thursday night.
Oh, perfect.
To a brand new puppy. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes. Happily ever after sucked me in. This is the second dog that I have due to Stroll Ledgeview magazine. The first one, Lucy, became Ledgeview Living's mascot. At the time, it was Ledgeview Living. And
Lucy.
someone moved up from Atlanta, didn't read their lease, had 2 dogs and could only have one, so needed a home. So I said, I'll write an article. Someone from Ledgeview will take her. No, we never got the article written, and Lucy is mine.
Wow.
And then this puppy, I was at the Dancing with Our Stars event, and Happily Ever After was there. They had dogs, puppies, when you walked in the door, and I literally walked in with my hands over my eyes, like on purpose, because I'm a sucker for a puppy.
I'm not doing it. Not doing it.
Had my hands over my eyes, and then lo and behold, this sweet little puppy sits down at my feet and just sits there and wags her tail, and looks at me. And I was like, and then I had like this great capturable picture that someone from Happily Ever After took of me with my first look, and I'm crouched down and my face is like all lit up and my mouth is open and I'm like clearly in love. And then they texted me that picture.
Yeah.
Later
it's
that
game
night.
over. It's
You're done.
Yeah. And I was like, I think that is an amazing marketing strategy.
I'll be over tomorrow to pick him up.
Yep. And
Literally.
so it's all their fault. And her name was Anne. We've renamed her Lola.
That's cute.
So it's Lola and Lucy.
From
Their
Ledgeview.
Instagram handle is coming soon.
I was
They
going
will
to say.
have their own Instagram.
That's cute.
And she's great. She's great. I mean, she's a puppy, and such is life, but I'm sure there will be moments that I will regret it, and everybody's already in love and swooning over her. So that's the most recent chaos in my life.
I like it.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it fun.
Yeah.
It definitely keeps it
puppies
interesting.
Are the best.
They are the best. They really are.
I don't know. The boys have asked a couple times about getting a dog, but I don't know if we'll ever actually do it. We've always said once you're old enough to take care of it, sure, take it on walks.
Well, just so you know, even when they're old enough to take care of it,
still
they
don't.
won't.
I know.
No.
It's it'll end up being a trap at some point.
Yeah.
We'll maybe end up with one, but Rachel's already talked about whatever the house is that we get next needs 3 or 4 acres. She's like, we need land.
Yeah,
She's
we
like,
need kids and
"Yeah,
dogs
the
to
kids- We have a nice fenced-in backyard. It's fine, but it feels small fast.
Yeah.
So she's like, we're gonna whenever we move in the next 2 to 5 years, she's like, we need 3 to 6 acres. I'm like, all right, we can do that.
I mean, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up because, my first home, I didn't think about anything. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have a house.
Correct,
Right? I'm
yeah.
so excited. And I remember my dad coming and visiting the week that we bought it. And it had this open concept living room with a loft and then this catwalk balcony. And he's like, oh yeah, you're going to hate that. And I was like, what do you mean? It's so cool. It's awesome. He's like, when you have children
Yeah.
and their rooms are upstairs.
And you didn't have kids yet at that point?
No, we weren't
Okay.
even married yet, actually. Living in sin.
Scandal.
But he said, when you have kids and you have to go upstairs in the middle of the night, you're going to hate it. And he goes, and when you and your spouse or your friends are watching TV in the living room, it's going to echo in the whole house. And I'm like, why are you crushing my love?
But I love this house.
And then the minute that I had a baby, the first night, I was like, oh, I already hate this. I hate. Yeah. So he was right. But you don't think about those things.
Correct.
When you buy your first home and then you make your punch list, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Like I will never have a dishwasher next to an island again because they always, and a pantry door.
Oh, yeah.
Because they
They all open into each
conflict.
other?
Yes.
My favorite is when they put the dishwasher really close to the oven and you have that.
yeah, you can't do both at the same time.
Open this and
See, now you're making your punch list.
for sure. I think both of ours do open. There's about 6 to 12 inches of room, but it's not
You
much.
just can't walk in between them.
Correct. Well, I
Yeah.
don't need to. The counter's right there, but still.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where you're just like, huh.
If you're cooking and unloading the dishwasher at the same time, it's kind of a pain.
Correct. I don't do that often.
Yeah.
Usually I cook, then I unload the dishwasher.
Well, it's nice that you do either of those.
I will be renovating a kitchen soon. So
I feel like you've been renovating since we started this podcast, Allie.
I've been renovating.
How's
for
the
2
reno
years.
project?
Been renovating my house for 2 years.
Where do you sleep in your house? Where do you eat in your house?
I do
I've been to your
sleep
house once, and I'm like trying to picture all of these
It looks
things.
different now, I guess, probably.
Can we just talk about the front porch and how amazing it looks for a moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's give
Well,
the
that's
front
the
porch.
thing is that the whole exterior got done first.
Mm.
So once
Curb appeal is a thing.
the way that everything lines up so that we can get the loan that we need for our kitchen
Right?
has to happen. So our kitchen's going to be the very last thing, which is fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I think there's
I just live in a 1960s
Feels like
Southern Colonial with a 1960s blue kitchen with
cute.
all the original everything, and it's all just very old, and it's cute.
It's got great
if you're
bones.
visiting.
If you're visiting, it's cute.
Got
If
it.
you're visiting.
The functionality of the kitchen, it's a literal square. My kitchen is much smaller than the room we're sitting in right now, like half. Not
Wow.
even,
Really? Okay.
like my kitchen is a square. It's
Okay.
maybe I can touch it.
Wow.
It's so small.
You're tall, though. You've got
in
long,
the middle
long arms.
back of my house. So we have walls to remove. We have a lot of work to do. But anyway,
I always envy people that can envision.
I know
I
that I
can't.
know
What it will look
exactly
like.
what it's going to look like when it's done.
I can't
It's
look at a
getting
room and
there.
be like, yes, I'm going to do
can't.
this and this and this.
Oh,
I
I
can't
can't.
either.
My brain doesn't work that way.
We have
I can
friends that
definitely
bought
see
a
the vision.
beautiful home, but it needed to be updated. And she's like, "Oh, we'll just do this, 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 and this," and it looks completely different
Yeah.
and utterly amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "How did you see that in your mind?"
Well,
I
and so
can't do
like
it.
the thing that stands between me and that is obviously money. Like
Yeah.
you need so much,
That helps.
so much money to do a kitchen renovation. It's like you have to think everything through so much.
Right.
And for us, we're probably going to end up doing it in the middle of winter, which means that we are going to move. Well, the thing is that if you do a kitchen renovation in the middle of summer, you have the flexibility with the warmer weather to
Right.
wash your stuff outside, to be in your garage, whatever. But in our winter, like you're not moving your kitchen
No.
to your garage, like you're not spending any time there. So it's like moving our kitchen to our basement, and the logistics of that stresses me out.
That'll be a
So
great
Yeah.
bonding experience for your
There's
family.
never a good. There's
It'll be
never a
great.
good time to renovate a kitchen.
No, there isn't.
Mandy's got 2 kids in college. You can just move in with
Yeah,
her
sure.
temporarily. She's got
Yeah.
the rooms.
Yeah,
Comes with puppies.
I'm
Even
okay with
better.
that.
Okay, come
Wes
on.
will
I'm
know.
sure
Think of-
Addie and Wes will
Say, think
really
of the cute
come with-
photos.
Come on over.
right? Come on.
Yeah. Come on
No,
over.
yeah. I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. But yeah.
Yeah. So my big life is puppy. Your big life is
Working.
renovating.
I love it.
Working and renovating.
And yeah, you're in your peak season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Season for
I don't-
Yeah.
for work, you're saying? Or what do you mean?
Oh, for work. It is
Yeah.
so busy for photography. I'm sure you can relate to this. Being like a family photographer, I feel like I've,
Everybody wants their fall and Christmas card photos
yeah.
now.
And I feel like I really shifted what my scope of my business is this past year. Like, I feel like I haven't really been doing like all of the outdoor fall-esque, like perfect family photos. I've been really attracting the families that really want to like embrace the chaos and like have me come to their house and
Colburns.
document their actual life and not,
Yeah.
put on a pretty dress. Yeah. But like, you don't have to fake it, basically, is kind of what I've been trying to attract in my business lately, is like, let's do these real life photos.
Correct, yeah. We love
those
that
are-
about our newborn session with you. You just came to the house and the boys were on something that day and it was just kind of chaos. But it was
Yeah.
great and we love those photos.
It was great. Yeah. Like, I feel like they turn out, I was saying this to people the past couple of times I've taken pictures, is like, especially with littles like Wes's age, 3, 4, 5, the less I try to make them do, the better the photos turn out.
100%.
Oh, yes.
Over and over and over again. If we're not forcing them to do the things, they're 90% of the time going to do the things that you want them to
Correct.
do if you just like let them lead the session. And so I've been really focusing on that and being in that. But I have something really fun that I'm doing this Thursday.
Okay,
Tell us.
So she is a podcaster in Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Her name is Nina, and she runs a podcast. It's called Mama Knows Podcast.
Look
Okay.
at
Yeah, with your mama sweatshirt.
Mom's
There we
sweatshirt,
go.
you can't see it, but-
Her podcast is really all about confidence in who you are as a woman, as a mom. She has a lot of really amazing like mental health, resources and things like that. I just love her podcast. I also love her style. If you don't follow her, you should. She's amazing. She is hosting what is called Mama Knows Live on Thursday
Ooh.
in Madison, and it is a conference and seminar or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's called Confidence in Herself. And so it's confidence in your business, confidence in your home, confidence in motherhood. And I feel like it has just been.
You feel like she did that just for you, a special.
Literally.
Like it's a live conference with one
I think you
guest.
talked about this last time, right? That you were thinking about going, you bought a single ticket, right?
I bought a single ticket and was definitely like not sure that I was going to for sure go. And I had not known anybody that was going yet. I just follow her. I love her stuff. I knew that it would speak to me and I knew that it would serve me personally because I've been, I mean, you guys know me for a couple of years even already. Like since I've had Wes, I've been in somewhat of an identity crisis with my business and being a mom and relationships and all those things. I feel like it's been kind of, you know, ebb and flow.
Flying
just like
through the day.
A lot going on.
And so I knew that it would speak to me and I was like, oh, like 6 a.m. I set my alarm to wake up and buy a ticket. I do it. And then I'm like, oh, you know, you do those things, you commit and you're like, maybe I won't, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll see when it gets closer. And then this past weekend I was at dinner with a couple of my girlfriends and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to this thing on Thursday. And then 2 of my girlfriends sitting at the table with me are like, we're going to that.
What?
No way.
And I was like, really? And they're like 2 of my best friends.
Road
and I did
trip.
not know that they were going to it. And
That's
so I'm
amazing.
really excited. So I'm going to drive out like just on Thursday morning and I'm going to attend the conference. It's from 2 to 8.
You're probably going to grab a cup of coffee.
Oh, I for sure will.
Listen to a podcast
vendors
along
and
the
there's
way.
like shopping events for women just to like feel confident in themselves. There's headshots with a really cool photographer that I've already followed.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So now like we're trying to figure out what to wear.
Oh.
So like it's been
Yeah, will
a
you wear it to
situation,
somebody
no
that
clue.
you
We don't
admire?
have time. We don't have that type of time.
Yeah. Right?
I could talk about that all day.
This is an Allie and Teresa
Yeah, right.
fashion podcast.
Yeah, so I feel like I'll have to follow up the next time we record because I'm very much looking forward to
I'm curious to hear how it goes for you.
that seminar being just like a part of my story on how I feel like I've been doing so much inner work on myself and protecting my peace and really following through with the plans that I have for myself and what I want. And I'm just excited to like
Good
have
for
that. be
you.
a part of
I love
myself.
that.
I'm a little jealous.
I know.
But I don't have a
should have
ticket.
bought 2 tickets so that I could have brought someone with me. I thought about that after the fact. I was like, oh, I should have bought 2 right away. They opened 20 more tickets yesterday, but I'm sure they went right
Buy
away.
them, Mandy. Buy 'em.
I think there's a couple things that you said there that can be tied into entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's admirable is, and I learned this post-divorce, right? Being able to do things by yourself.
100%. I agree
Having
with
the confidence to go have dinner alone, go to movie alone.
Yep.
For me, it was the sporting events because I always sat in the groups of people, right? There was the mom section, the family section. And then when I started going post-divorce, I'm like, I don't want to sit there.
that. Sure.
I want to sit by myself and became so comfortable and confident in it. And I see other people that struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we have to love it, by the way. It
Right.
doesn't mean that I have to be like, I can't wait to go to dinner alone.
Correct.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that, but it means being able to do something that stretches you out of your comfort zone, which is what entrepreneurship is.
Yep.
So I love that you're doing that for
Yeah.
yourself. That's amazing.
I agree with that. Like, thank you. I feel like it's been a long time coming because
Yeah.
I have been forced to kind of look inward with that and be like, where did I stop doing all of this stuff by myself or having the confidence to go out on a limb and buy myself a ticket, even if like it would be hard because I would have to find some childcare. I would have to.
luck.
Things are getting serious
Mandy
here.
just flipped her hat
Mandy turned her
backwards.
hat
My
backwards.
rally cap.
You know, I feel like I have to. I just at some point since I had Wes, a piece of me as Allie and not Allyson Elise photo or Allyson Elise or whatever just kind of fell off and I lost this sense of confidence and like, I know what I want. I'm going to go get it. And that I've been working so hard to get back, especially in my business, because I mean, I've attracted so many of the new types of clientele that I really want. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into that.
Yeah.
And so I think in entrepreneurship, we're always, sometimes you feel like you have to be a certain way or do a certain thing for the people around you so that you can attract those types of people. But like at the end of the day, I'm like, if I'm not totally being who I want to be and what I'm about and living my authentic life, how am I going to attract the people that really belong to me? Like,
Correct.
Right.
do you know what I mean?
Right.
And in business, that can be related anywhere, in your personal life and business, anything. I think.
I had that conversation with somebody, I think it was this morning. I've been up since 3:45, so I'm really not sure if that was this morning
Did you
or
get a
yesterday.
puppy? Oh no, you have a toddler.
No, I had to leave for a shoot that early this morning.
Okay.
But I've already been rolling since 3:45. But I forget who it was, but I talked to somebody recently about that, and I was like, I think one of the best things that I've come to realize in business, but also in my life as well for building self-confidence, is that I'm okay not being for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you quickly realize that like you're just not for everybody, and
Right.
you lose yourself, right, trying to make everybody happy. And the more that you do that, then you're like, but who actually am I?
Right.
And so I think for me, verbalizing that recently a couple of times to people, like just to friends and family and colleagues, have been like, yeah, like I'm okay knowing that I'm not going to be for them and for them and for them, but I am for them, them, and them, right?
Yep.
Type of thing. So, and being like, okay, like
Yeah.
there's something freeing about that, because you're like, okay, like great.
Totally.
I feel way more confident in that.
Go ahead.
Can I say something
Yeah.
really quick? Because so for myself and my business, I feel like not that this is really about confidence necessarily, but I feel like I never really have taken the time to invest in like education in my career, because in photography, I think all of the workshops are wedding based. Okay. I don't want to shoot a ton of weddings every year. So I'm not flying out to Utah to get content of couples in Utah
Always
when
in
I'm
Utah.
here trying to photograph motherhood and families
Yep.
and
Yeah.
new parents and kids and little ones with their siblings, all these things. So I took a step back because I was thinking about it this week actually. And I was like, I finally am stepping over this like plateau of business where I am actually kind of viewing this event on Thursday as an investment in my
Absolutely.
career.
It is.
100%.
Because I people for a living. Like I literally talk to people all day
All the
long.
time.
I am emotionally exhausted by the end of a wedding or by the end of an event a lot of the time. I'm also like a chronic extrovert. So we all
Cheers.
thrive
Yeah.
off
Speak
of
into the
people.
room,
Like
yeah.
we totally get it. You guys all get it. A lot of people out there, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you get it. You
Yes.
kind of
You have to be.
You
you
have
have
to
to
be.
be a people person in order
Yeah.
to be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the first time I really feel like I'm taking a step out, regardless of how it makes the people around me feel, like the inconvenience of, not being able to pick up my kids or whatever the case is. Being like, nope, I know that I need this in my business and investing in that because I know it's going to serve me in the long run.
Yeah.
I think
being
it's so important.
Being okay with it. Like we're encouraging people on a daily basis to invest in their business by
Literally.
utilizing our partnerships or your
Literally.
clients.
Correct,
So
yeah.
we're like, oh, you got to spend money to make money. You got to keep yourself out there. You got to do that. Well, then
Correct.
we can't have a scarcity mindset of not putting it back into ourselves, right? And
100%.
our own businesses. And that grows us. And I think the point that I was going to make that kind of touches on the same thing is it is okay. And I think one of the things, advice I would give to my younger self now as an older,
More
You
hip,
like that,
more
Bob?
hip and rad. I was like, I got to take the picture.
is that it's okay for that to have an evolution. For who is Mandi Wilkie,
Yeah.
owner of Stroll Ledgeview year 1?
Right.
Who is Mandi Wilkie, owner of Stroll Ledgeview year 6?
Yeah.
Right.
And who was I at year 3? And then for me to give myself permission to evolve in that, no matter what the expectation of the community is.
Correct.
100%.
Or of a former client is, or whoever is. It's just like a 5-year-old to a 10-year-old that they're going to evolve as a person.
Yep.
And they're not going to be the same. And we expect that.
Correct.
So I think being an entrepreneur and being comfortable with the evolution that you're going to change, your boundaries are going to get tighter.
Yeah.
We were talking about agreements and things like that. You're going to get better at them because of what you've learned along the way.
Because you don't always
Absolutely.
know until you're in it. And you're like,
Right.
oh, that's another lesson I just learned. Thank you for that.
Usually it's a painful lesson
Correct.
that helps us grow in a positive direction. But
Yeah.
and then, Baxter and I just talked about it briefly before we started airing, like confrontation and conflict. I don't enjoy.
No.
My boyfriend loves it. He lives for it. He loves to
Some
challenge
people just love a good fight.
And
right?
it's
not even a fight, but they're just like, yeah, let's talk about it. Figure it out. And you're just
let
like,
me ask you a question about that. Let me challenge you on it. He's constantly doing that. And I'm like, sometimes you sound like a not so nice person, right? And he's like, that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to get to the root of it, to solve it and move forward. And what I don't do is don't solve it and move forward. And then I stew in it for weeks at a time. So entrepreneurship, getting better at those things, doesn't make us less likable, doesn't make us less good at what we're doing. It might be sometimes skewed as, well, wow, like that person's arrogant, or wow, that person's changed. Well, everybody changes.
Yeah. And you should. You should.
Correct.
You should be trying to get better or learning those lessons. I learned a really hard lesson too in business that I'm like, okay, can't believe I never saw it that way. Clearly I'm living under a rock, but now I know. I'm enlightened now, and I finally feel like I can move forward from that.
And if you're not changing and evolving, you're falling behind, right? You're not staying with the times half the time. And you see that and you wonder why certain businesses don't do well and certain businesses do, because those people are adapting and changing to what the clients need, what the world is, what the industry is, right? Like I'm sure family photos 5 years ago are not what they are today anymore, right?
No,
like
100%.
if you were doing what you're doing now and told Allie 5 years ago, hey, by the way, you're going to go to their houses and you're going to just let the kids be chaotic, you'd be like, no.
Yeah, right.
That's not going to happen. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And kind of circling back on that, I know we're a little bit off course on different topics, but circling back on that, it was funny because my son graduated in May and I pulled out all these old photos.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And given my situation with the divorce, I didn't go through and say, well, if your dad's in the picture, I'm not putting it out. Right. Like that isn't what we did. We had all the albums out and everything. But as he was looking through them, it was interesting because the snapshots of our lifestyle, of him playing with his tractors and him, I mean, we all laugh at this one picture. He's driving this little tractor, battery operated tractor. He's probably 2.5. It's got a trailer on the back. It's got all the shifters. It's got the bucket, and he can do it all. And he's got a nook in his mouth every time he's in it. So it's like this little baby face, but driving this whole tractor.
Yeah.
And we all joke about, him having the nook, and he did on the tractor all the time. But immediately when he saw those pictures, he can remember the amount of time he played with his John Deere tractors and what he loved. And I think that's so important about what you're doing now, as opposed to what you used to do, which was, how do I pose the perfect family picture?
Right.
And it's a freaking nightmare, by the way, trying to get everybody to look at you and stand in the right. And then you
it's
look
stressful for the parents.
Right. You look really back on that picture and what does a child remember of that?
Right.
Well, Gavin remembers playing with his tractors and lining up his race cars and, Lightning McQueen and all of that.
With the times, which like the 90s were the best. Like it's great. I mean, obviously.
For sure.
We all took pictures. Our parents took pictures of us with the cameras and like the disposable cameras. And we don't do that anymore in our life.
Right.
Like we're in a time of the world where you have a phone, you click a phone and that's it. But we're not printing it. We're not putting it in albums.
It sits in your phone,
sitting in your phone, or it goes to the cloud and then you forget about it. And then you pull it up once every 5 years.
You pull it up when your son graduates and you need to print out.
You're like, let me find that photo.
But that's just like the way of the world. We don't have that like nostalgic lifestyle anymore where we're taking pictures and it's immediately printing out and you're putting it in an album anymore. That's not the same thing.
And there's no anticipation.
Right.
It's how many times when you take pictures of a family does a child say, can I see?
Yeah. I mean,
probably all the time.
All the time.
They're used to it.
Or just as a photographer to take that picture and look at it fast, be like, let's do it one more time, right? And we're like, you can kind of check that, as opposed to like, well, see what
your eyes were closed.
Well, like today I did a session and I was literally just like, it's okay. Like he's not super happy. Cuddle him, love him. I'm here to just document that.
Right.
I think sometimes if you're not prepared for that, it's hard for me, I make a business out of it. Mm-hmm. If I don't prepare the client for that, it's hard for them to understand like what they're paying for, because it's like, wait, are you documenting my kids spitting up all over themselves?
Right.
Or are you documenting me cuddling? It's like, I know what I'm looking for. And so I walk away feeling great.
Yeah.
But then you have a little bit of hesitation or the little bit of like, what am I investing in?
Right.
Until you actually get to edit and tell the story of what that morning was like. To them, it may be like, oh my gosh, did we get one good photo?
Correct.
Like, I'm so stressed out. And then you have those memories to hold on to forever. That's what I'm trying to create for these families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is like, you can have me come to your house when your baby is 5 days old or 3 months old, and you're still going to get these nostalgic photos that when they graduate from high school, they're going to be a part of that story.
Correct.
Yeah.
So important to me. It's way better. It's way more important than the perfectly staged photo, in front of a Christmas tree or whatever.
Right.
All the hands on the shoulder.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done photos like that, but man. I have evolved. Growth is so essential. My job, I've never felt like my job has spoken to me more than it has this past year.
That's amazing.
I feel like you have to, like, if you're not staying true to yourself and you're not investing in that, like, eventually it'll catch up to you.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be totally honest with yourself.
I think kudos to you too. I just think back now, even just as a new puppy mom, right? I think back now to being a young mom.
Yeah.
And remembering how stressful family pictures were.
Yeah.
And it was like, what are we going to wear? What are we going to do? What time of day is going to work? Have they been fed? Do I bribe them with chocolate? Like, what do we do? And so you giving those young parents the permission to enjoy the session, however it looks, because I was always like, this photographer is going to think I'm a horrible mother.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
Right, like
that's the time your kid chooses to act out. And you're
right.
like,
Or I swear at them and tell them I hate them or whatever it is. Right. We all have our weak moments.
Smile. We love each other.
Shut up and smile and I'll give you a Hershey. You know, like
at this point I tell my clients, if you clean for me, I'm adding $100 to your bill.
like don't
Yes.
clean.
Like, don't clean for
Just
me.
let it be.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I love
just
that.
think it's so important to stay like
And
authentic in your business.
if there would have been opportunities like that when I was a young mom for someone to come to my house, I would have swooped that up and I would have paid twice as much
Right.
No.
to get someone to come to me instead of me hauling everybody
Studio
to them.
or to a location.
I know we talk about this all the time, but it's really just finding your people.
It's finding your
For
people.
sure.
Finding your people, because I've been so blessed with the most amazing clients that I have now. Like, they're not just clients, they're my friends. Like,
Yeah.
I text them, we talk to each other. I know all of us equally, we have heart behind our business that shows through when you're serving the right people.
Yeah.
Correct.
When you're serving the people that truly get you, value you, understand you, your work shines.
Yeah.
100%.
Immediately. You are like, it's par none. Like, there are sometimes that I feel forced or whatever. It's like, okay, maybe, I love every client I ever get to work with, but maybe those,
Maybe that was the right season.
right.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
In that
But
season, it was huge.
Yeah. I mean, I had a client that just emailed me today and they're not renewing. And it's not her decision, but she's the messenger, right? And at the end of it, she goes, I hope we can still stay in touch. And it struck me, like it struck me so much because I think she's an amazing person.
Yeah.
I love what she does as business, but I also just love her as a person. She's super cool. I'd hang out with her. We've gone to the farmer's market. We've done things together. We've gone to events together. And when she put that at the end, I actually kind of like questioned myself, like, does someone think that that's a stipulation?
Right.
Like
you
if
have
we
to hang
don't
out.
work together anymore,
Oh, we can't be friends.
we
or
can't be friends,
associate anymore.
or I can't check in. Like
now you're opening a whole new
I was like, that's a whole nother
and
episode.
for the next episode of the Real Chat podcast. But it was interesting to me and it was perspective. Like I don't ever want someone to think that I want the water under the bridge to be so smooth that if we part ways or if
Right.
we part ways, that if they come swimming along again in a year or two, that I'm like, jump back in, jump in my
Right.
boat. It's
Oh,
totally
I
fine.
think
That was
that's
a really
your
poor
character.
analogy of what I was trying to illustrate, but that's my point.
Yeah.
Like much like you're friends with these people. It's very tricky. And maybe that is a segue to the next episode. We're in a small town. We're in a super small town.
Yeah.
And people are going to come and go in our lives as business owners and entrepreneurs. That's classic entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You can do your job perfectly and people are going to come and go.
Oh, right.
Right. And how do we evolve from that when we see them at Target next week? Right.
Which brings me to a thought. You're full time.
I am.
So like the parting your ways with your full-time job.
Yeah.
So how's everything going with that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking. Everything ended with the full-time job really well,
Good.
truthfully. So I wasn't.
So it's all smooth.
Yes, very smooth. And they were the ones I had said initially that I was like, hey, if there's ever an opportunity to come back and do contract work, I'd love to, right? Like I felt like I had really established a good body of work that they would at some point, unless they were to completely replace me, I had earned myself a spot back in the building as far as a contract one offshoot if they ever needed it, right, type of thing. And sure enough, the last day the president was like, hey, like please keep in touch. He's like, we'd like to have you come around as we need stuff again. I was like, yeah, I'd love that. I'm like, I'm leaving friends and what felt like close family right after 3 years of being there. And I think I've talked about it on the show before, but like my job at Redline was so much more than showing up Monday through Friday. Like that job, I've said it before, saved my life because I was divorced. I was getting divorced. I had nothing. I needed a job, and I got a random LinkedIn message out of the blue from somebody that I went to church with, offering me an opportunity for this job, and taking that job, and the friends that I've made, the mentors that I've acquired because of it, like literally is why I'm sitting here. That's why I'm full-time now in my business, because the right people invested me. Because even 3 years ago, I was like, I have a photo video.
So you just needed to listen to God's plan for you back
Correct.
there?
Yeah. It's weird how that happens when you do that, right?
Like just be open to the God incidents instead of the coincidence.
Exactly right. So like that trying to explain that to people at the end, like even explaining that to Rachel a little bit, right? Because she was not salty about the whole thing, like for me leaving and just being sad about like the red line thing because of just how it kind of shook down a little bit. And she's like, I don't know why you want to do stuff with them, kind of, because they were a little shaky here and there towards the end. And I was like, it's hard to communicate unless you're the person that lived it, right? I was like, like this place will always have a special place in my heart because of the impact that it allowed for me to have. I'm like, is now why I'm sitting here, right? Type of thing. So it's hard to communicate that to somebody unless they've been in it or gone through that type of thing. But and
as people who care about you, I say this in relationships, but it's also business relationships, like personal relationships. If I go to my sister and tell my sister something horrible that my boyfriend did, which I haven't ever said or done, by the way. But, but if I do that, my sister is going to have a harder time forgiving my boyfriend than I am.
Because she'll be like, why'd you hurt my sister?
Right. Mm-hmm. And they're going to hold on to that.
Correct.
So from Rachel's perspective, she's protective of you.
100%.
And you've shared some of the pain points.
Yep.
But we talk about this all the time too. We do it with our clients. I don't walk around on a daily basis and say all the wonderful things that are happening in my business. It's not human nature. Instead, we share the things that are painful and hard.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when we share the things that are painful and hard.
Or uncertain, right? Because you're like, because that's what takes up more of your brain space. Not that, gosh, I had a great shoot this morning. We both just talked about it this morning. I said, I have 80 clients and I'm thinking about one right now. 100%. Yeah. Same.
All day, every day, I'm thinking about one.
Oh gosh. I relate so heavily to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So, I mean, I think if that's more advice we could give to the young entrepreneur, spend the majority of your day with the 79 clients that you are super excited about working for, and let the one go because that's going to just hold. I've been doing this for a long time and I still struggle with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you could start and learn that at a younger stage to be able to be like,
put those systems in place, right?
F you and your mom.
Exactly.
Yeah. That little.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, just not take it personal. It's the hardest rule in entrepreneurship. It's the hardest lesson.
Correct. If you don't, it's the hard part is to not take it personal, because what all three of us do, especially, and as a business owner within reason, right? Like your business can feel so personal, right? Like, and if I say,
it is personal.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And obviously if you have a much larger business, like Walmart doesn't care if you go to Target. They might, but whatever. But I'm saying, like, at a smaller level, right? They're like, okay, like it means a lot and hurts a lot, even though you try not to take things personally, but you're like, okay, I learned something about myself in that moment when that happens, right? But I think being completely full-time now, I was explaining this to somebody over the weekend. I was like, I don't have the safety net anymore of knowing that, like, oh, I got to go back to work, because I've been dealing with the feeling of guilt, like I should be at work the last 3 weeks, because I'm like, I should be at work.
And the reality is you're working more hours now than you've ever worked at a full-time job.
Right? So, because I'm used to, like, all right, Mondays and Tuesdays, great, I'll do my thing, and then Wednesday,
the structure is different.
Wednesday through Friday, back in the office, the occasional night shoot, okay, we're good, here we go, type of thing. And like, no, like, I literally was on the road 4 of the 5 days right away the first week. I was all over the place, and I was like, okay, I'm like, well, that was a fun little week. I'll be back in the office next week. And then I'm like, oh, we're on the road again. I'm like, oh, and this week, I'm like, oh, I'll be like, okay. Now I'm kind of like, all right, no, this is the new norm. And I think the more that I'm around people and the more that I'm shooting in the diversity of things, from being in different states and different types of clients, that I think has helped me, I think, accept more. Not that I feel like I'm being forced to run my business full time, but like, it's just being stuck in a 9-to-5 job the last 10 years, right, is all I've known. And
it's the box you've lived in.
Correct. Yeah. And somebody told me, they're like, oh, I'm so glad you're out of the matrix. I was like, wow, that's a bit aggressive, but I get what you're saying, right? They're like, oh, you made it out. I'm like, but it's so interesting.
But it's a true statement.
It is. As soon as you,
and now you're into a whole different
matrix.
I've
had multiple people be like, how did you do it? And I'm like, I'm like, I didn't think anybody was really watching or care, but I've had a couple of people be like, hi, like, what steps did you take? I had a guy yesterday who's like, tell me, like, kind of how you did it. And I was like, well, I'm like, oh, first of all, it's a little unique on how I did it, but I'm like, here's generally what I did, right? Like the right clients, save money, make sure the schedule is right. Like all of that. Like there's stuff that has to line up. You can't just say, I'm going to go and just hope for the best. Like do the work ahead of time. And I did for 3 years to lay the groundwork.
And I think kind of coaching people that are coming into entrepreneurship that have questions like that, it's no different than someone going to college. How'd you figure it all out? You just do.
Yes.
Going through a divorce, how'd you figure it out? You just do.
Yeah.
100%.
90% of the time, it's not done with a plan.
Correct.
It's done with some passion and some guts.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you don't know that until you're in it, right?
Right.
The thing. And I've been very blessed with the last couple of weeks, and I'm very excited for what the future holds and the conversations that have happened and relationships. I mean, waking up at 3:45 to go to my day job sounds horrendous. Waking up at 3:45 to go hang out with some awesome people at a gym this morning was like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in.
Like, let's do it. Like,
I was going to say, what other shoot do you do at 3:45 in the morning? But,
For a
5 o'clock boot camp
to be
sounds
there
about
for
right.
a 5 a.m. class, right? Type
Yeah.
of thing. I mean, you're up, and I had another great photographer I was working with, and then I had a production assistant that showed up at my house at 4 a.m. and we carpooled down, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, this is what I love. Like,
Right.
That is what it literally got me out of bed this morning. I was like, I'm hanging out with super cool people, and the client is awesome, and what can be better than this, right? Like that is what gets me out of bed in the morning, which I was so grateful for.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I love that. Well, that's a little recap and an update.
I love it.
Because this is really the first episode in season 3 where we haven't had a guest
Correct.
on.
Yep.
Yep.
So we're past due for a little bit of catch up.
I have a couple here.
Just a little chit chat.
Yeah, we will have a couple more of these to come because every time we come here, we have a topic that we feel like we can talk on. So,
And we have some fun guests coming up in a few weeks as well that are near and dear to our hearts. So I'm excited to have those folks on.
For sure. We're excited to have some more entrepreneurs on. We're excited to have you continue listen to us, share us, like us, follow us, listen to us wherever you get your podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.